welcome to a brand new episode of Sequel Rights, the podcast where we take a look at the franchises that make you go, they made how many of those? And we give each and every sequel a fair trial. My name is Justin Camps, and I'm here with
Elizabeth Helly
and
Tyler Hymanson.
And we are here kicking off a brand new franchise this week. You know, we did two very family-friendly franchises for the most part, and so we just had to go hard in the other direction. And at the same time, we really wanted to keep John Travolta in the mix.
You always got to have Travolta in the mix.
He's our new favorite for 2021. Just kidding. So this week we were kicking off the Carrie franchise. You know, I know every week we ask for you guys to send in suggestions, and this is one that came in a couple times from listener Nicole. So Nicole, this is for you. We're starting. We're
doing it. We're finally there.
That's right.
This is really one of those ones that when you mention it, people will really be like, wait, how many of those? So like, I've only told like two people we were doing this, and I got that like both times.
Yeah. So it's going to be fun. We get to kick things off with a Stone Cold classic. But before we really dive into it, Eliz, where can people reach out to us?
Yes. Let us know what franchises you want to request, and send us any other emails at sequelrights@gmail.com, or you can find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at Sequel Rights.
And please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. You could make a suggestion of a franchise that we're doing, just like what we're doing right now for Carrie, in your review. 5 stars goes a long way. We appreciate it.
That's right. And I think we're going to try to do more listener suggested franchises this year. Stay tuned for more. But in the meantime, here we go with Carrie.
It's the night of the senior prom. The Bates High School gym is alive with excitement. Everybody is there, even Carrie White. The girl no one likes.
We're all sorry about this incident, Cassie.
It's Carrie!
And everyone makes fun of her.
Free Carrie!
The girl who lives in that creepy house with her crazy mother.
Help the sinning woman see the sin of her days and ways. Show her that if she had remained sinless, the curse of blood would never have come on her.
The girl with the strange power.
If I concentrate hard enough, I can move things.
Ooh, sounds spooky. So this is Carrie, the one that everyone knows. You all know this movie. Maybe you haven't seen the whole thing, but you know the beats. This is Stephen King's first film adaptation, which is crazy.
It's insane.
It's nuts that a lot of people would say like the first one was the best one, and they could have stopped there. No, I'm kidding.
I mean, apparently Stephen King even says that this movie is better than the book. He likes it more than his own book.
Yes, the endings. There's a lot of stuff that is different from the book that we can talk about a little bit later. I mean, I don't know, Justin. We can talk about our Shawshanks and your Green Miles in there, but certainly of the horror kings as we think about them, This is probably the best adaptation. I think I would agree with that.
And it's it's just crazy that it's like the first, it was also his first published novel, right? Correct?
Yes.
So it's just nuts that the first book he gets published turns into this movie that people are talking about, for generations now. Years and years.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, have there been a lot of movies on Sequel Rights that, are often listed in AFI top 100 horror movie lists or stuff like that. Like, not just horror movies, but I mean, have any of them been on top movies of all time lists?
Well,
like that?
Certainly Starship Troopers 3.
I was like, is this the most hollowed classic film that we've talked about so far?
I think it might be.
It very well may be.
Yeah. I mean, step up.
Step Up, Starship Troopers 1.
AFI's top 100 dance films. I mean, Dirty Dancing is, but that one also is not people are going to be like, it's the best movie of all time.
Yeah.
We'll look it up later. We've got weeks to keep talking about this, but I will look at the list. But this movie is like, as they say, close to a tight 90. It's very, it's not like going on and on and on. And the book is very short too, which I know because I read it last night after I watched the movie. I was like, why not? And
this is the point where Stephen King wrote Carrie and was like, well, I'll probably just go back to being an English teacher for the rest of my life.
Eliz, so tell people about the book. It's not written in the traditional like chapters way, correct?
No, well, there's 3 like sections, but the main device that he's employing here is it's almost like it's almost more like a written documentary where it has like experts and like witness testimony and clips from fake articles from like Esquire and medical journals, and it really approaches like the phenomenon of what happened at the Black Prom, as they call it in the book, as like a scientific anomaly. Yet there's also some scientists, they're like, it's a gene that we can isolate and kill all the people who have it, like stuff like that.
Whoa.
It's really crazy. It's a lot different, but not too different. And weirdly, what is kept the most is the dialogue. Most of the dialogue is word for word, like written and pulled from the book. So
Damn,
it's
kind of crazy.
They say stuff like this in the book.
You eat shit.
I think so. Yeah. But yeah, a lot of it is very like directly taken from the book. And since I read it immediately after watching the movie, I was like, oh, okay. Yeah.
Oh, rings a bell.
Yeah.
Yeah, the DVD that I have has like a film to book comparison thing, and there weren't that many things listed. Major stuff like the ending, but or like some added characters here and there, but it didn't seem like overall a ton of crazy changes.
Yeah, I would say unfortunately Red Hat Girl lives in the book. She doesn't have a red hat, but she does live. They changed the name of the teacher to like a white name for the movie because Desjardins is too hard to say, I guess. And there's a whole storyline about Chris's father being a lawyer coming in and being like, I'm gonna sue the school, and the principal being like, no, you're not. And yeah, that basically. And then there's also a lot more about like Carrie growing up and this incident in which the house is rained upon by stones when she's about 4 or 5 years old or something like that.
That's actually they actually shot that scene for the movie and cut it out. Yeah, because the raining stones just looked like rain and not stones. So the effect they had didn't quite work.
That was actually supposed to be the climax instead of the house being like torn apart. Was just like, a bunch of stones get sent at it.
Oh yeah, you can actually
same with like
see
the same like he had De Palma had a similar like the end of Snake Eyes was supposed to be like a Noah style tidal wave, and it ended up not like they shot that too, but that ended up being a different type of movie.
They said they said on the special features for that final scene, like the conveyor belt or something that was supposed to carry the stones broke down that day, so they couldn't do it. But they had already shot some of the interior scenes, so you can see stones like in the movie still falling through the ceiling. But it's so chaotic in that moment that you kind of like can't really tell what's happening. Still works.
Yeah, all of Stephen King's tropes that you know and love him for are here. You have the rampant cynicism, you have the working town people, and just characters that feel so real and so true to what assholes kids are.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah.
And at the time, like I said, he was an English teacher. So, these are probably some of the kids he was dealing with.
I hate to say, like, I'm not in high school now, but even as far as up to the point that I experienced it, there's pretty much nothing in this movie that I feel like is unbelievable. Maybe the one step too far is that it's actually pig's blood. Like that, I feel like that is really, really, really out there, but maybe not in a farming.
Not in a farm town.
Yeah. But other than that, I'm like, yeah, I could see all of that happening when I was in high school or USC.
That obviously. Scene where they go to get the pig's blood is pretty dark.
Yeah, at the Farmer John factory over there in industrial like the industrial. I think it's like Vernon, that area
Yeah.
on the 5. You can go drive there. And
I know you're talking about Vinci, right? From season 2 of
yes.
True Detective.
And I don't know if this is like 100% true,
yes.
but my dad swears, because my dad is Seventh-day Adventist, and he said when he was at Seventh-day Adventist Academy in like elementary school that there was a field trip where they would put all the kids in the bus, drive to the Farmer John factory, that building that you see in the movie, make them walk around and look at this hideous mural of like the pigs being raised and then taken to slaughter, because it goes through the entire life cycle if you drive around. And it's a huge complex and a gigantic mural. Like, I'm sure it's a historical site at this point, but
Interesting.
it's just a huge mural. And apparently they would take the kids there so that they'd be horrified and not want to eat pork. And also it obviously like smells really bad. I probably now you can't like hear pigs dying, but maybe back then you could. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. Well, you know, if it wasn't COVID times, maybe we could have gone over there and got a secret rights photo in front of the mural.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've driven by it many times because on
I've
many
driven
a
by it for sure,
drive. Yeah, on many a drive when the 5 is too crowded, Google will take you on the scenic tour of industrial Los Angeles, and then you, oh yeah, there's Farmer John. Yeah.
Yeah. Crazy. Yeah. The kids are, you know, the teenage menace in this movie is pretty strong.
Yes.
So let's talk about the inciting incident of it all. Mostly because I think it's funny to talk about periods and see if you guys get uncomfortable.
No, I just, I just feel like that is probably, I'm like, what's more, is that more traumatic than what happens at the end of the movie? Like, it's a pretty traumatic sequence.
Yeah, it's super traumatic where they're just talking shit. But then, like, I love that the teacher, you know, is just like, after the whole thing, when she's talking to the principal, she's like, you know what the damnedest thing about it is? I wanted to hit her.
She did hit her.
Yeah, she did actually. Yeah.
Yeah, you could just hit anybody in school back then.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy though. Like, yes, it's bad, but also like there's an insane stigma about like period products. Like it's
Absolutely.
bad for her because she doesn't know what's going on.
Right. Yeah.
But like, I remember I got in trouble because we got toilet papered one time when we were having a flute sleepover. And so the next day we went to the 99-cent store and bought a bunch of pads and tampons and put them in the like cubbies of the boys who did it. And I got in trouble for that. They were clean like period products. And I got in trouble because how could we do something so like disgusting to them when they had toilet paper in my house?
That's terrible.
But you know,
I think that it does a really great job showing that stigma where the gym teacher is basically just like in the principal's office and is making her case and saying all these things, and she still has a little bit of blood on her shorts, and the principal, like, he has this look where he's just like,
yeah, he looks like he wants to shoot himself in the face right then, or possibly vomit on her. Like,
yeah, and he can't get her dang name right. So terrible.
Cassie,
come in here.
cornucopia.
Yeah. Oh man.
so
Yeah.
I do have some like period questions for you guys.
Okay.
See. What do you think is so? Okay, they're discussing that it's very strange that Carrie did not have her period yet and did not know what it was, and she is 17 in this movie. So, what is the average age at which female girls get their period?
I will point out that Justin and I did not grow up with sisters.
Yep.
Yes.
I would guess. I mean, it feels like it would actually be way earlier than that. I feel like it's like
I'm gonna say 13. 13.
The average is 10 to 15. So almost everyone is between 10 and 15. The average is 12.
Makes sense.
So not too far off.
Yeah, I was just watching Big Mouth, and it was all about Jessie getting her period. So I'm like, how old are they in that?
Okay,
I think they're like 13.
Modern media is educating you
Exactly.
at the age of in your 30s.
I know. I'm
At
like,
what age-
now that I have a daughter, I need to know
I
this.
split the difference.
Okay, so at what age should you be concerned if your daughter or a girl has not started her period?
Probably 14. Probably the answer I just said.
Well, if you said it was between 13, didn't you say 10 and 15?
Yeah.
So I guess, yeah, if they're 15, I don't know.
Yeah, and depending on their like lifestyle, like if it's someone who is like heavily exercising every single day, then it may take a little longer. So you got like an extra couple of years in there. How long do periods last? Like each time it happens, not in life.
A week?
A little bit less.
It's 4 to 8 days, so you're both right. Depends on the woman.
The entire month. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. And how long can you keep a tampon in?
Oh, that's a really good question that I do not know.
I would say
like probably, well, I mean, how long should you or like could you? Like that's a different question.
No, not could you. Of course you could. Yeah. Should you?
I would say 8 hours.
Yeah, I was saying 12, like half a day. I don't know.
No more than 8 hours.
Oh, okay, I'm wrong.
4 to 8 hours.
Yeah.
They don't have 24 hours. 24-hour extra thick. Yeah.
What is period blood? Like, what is bleeding? It's
the uteral lining.
Yeah.
Hey, you got it.
Out. Yeah. There you go.
Finally, an over-under here. How many tampons does the average woman use in her lifetime?
Oh man.
Okay, this is like a trivia end question.
Yeah.
I mean, this really depends on the study too, because.
Well, according to Healthline.com or whatever the generic medical
I'm gonna
website
say like
was. 5,000.
I don't know. That's my guess. $1.
Okay.
I'll go $4.99.
Come on.
16,800.
Oh.
Approximately
Dang.
$3,000.
Wow.
Womp womp.
That's right. Well, that's why the government just gives all women a free car, right? The cost of all the tampons.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Okay. Well,
That's a
you
lot.
guys weren't as uncomfortable as would have made me more entertained.
We're just trying to play it cool because we're, blasting this out to the public.
Yeah. You don't want to be embarrassed. You're like, why'd you ask me these horrible things?
Ew, gross. No. Hey, it's just part of life.
But anyways, Mr. Principal definitely wanted to die when he saw it.
Yes.
I mean,
Mr. Principal.
Yeah. I guess in that situation, I could see myself being uncomfortable, maybe. But if you're like, just being like having this thrust upon you all of a sudden as a principal, and maybe you're not usually dealing with that kind of thing. But.
Sure.
But
I mean, he's a
he still
principal.
sucked.
What's he going to do? Deal with students?
Yeah, he sucked. He's a terrible principal.
There's a very famous episode of Degrassi where Emma gets her period and there's like a period stain on her pants and her stepdad is the principal, I think. So awkward.
Oh, God. Yeah, I mean, it's a really well done sequence in the beginning. It's horrifying. You feel like absolutely terrible for Carrie immediately. I watched some of the special features and they said like Sissy Spacek was saying that Brian De Palma was like, it's supposed to be like this moment should be like you just got hit by a Mack truck. Like that's how you should act this moment. And so apparently that's what she was thinking during that scene. I think it comes through.
Yeah, I mean, Sissy Spacek was apparently like super method for this movie, and in fact, she wasn't even supposed to be in it. She was the girlfriend at the time when his production designer did Phantom of the Paradise, and then I believe they were married at this point. But De Palma tells a story where, she was going to do an audition for a commercial and he was basically just straight up with her like, look, I'm actually really leaning to this other person. So if you want to go do the other thing, that's fine. And she's like, no, I'll stick around in town and I'll do it. And then he talks about when she actually did the test and he was like, yeah, we were all fucking stupid. She's incredible.
Yeah, she's great in this movie. And I like the other fun like casting tidbit that they talk about in the special features is like basically everyone from this movie are people that like didn't make it into Star Wars because
him and George Lucas did like a joint casting call.
Yeah, they were like casting for Star Wars and this at the same time.
All teens, come here.
Yep. Luke Skywalker. No
in
thanks.
the De Palma documentary, which I watched over the weekend, that is really awesome. It came out in 2015. It's basically just Noah Baumbach interviewing him.
Oh, nice.
And they just cut in a bunch of footage. But they actually have like all of the audition tapes of like Mark Hamill reading with the main girl who, dates Tommy, and like that she was
Amy
really close to
Irving.
being Leia. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And that like all of them are just kind of reading against each other, and they have all of those tapes. It's really
That's
cool.
so crazy. That's pretty sweet. Yeah. I mean, Brian De Palma, great. This was like his first like big like commercial production.
Yep.
Like you said, he did Phantom of the Paradise before this, and would go on to make a bunch of amazing movies, but this one really put him on the map, I think.
Yeah, it was his first big hit.
Yeah.
I texted Tyler yesterday and was like, Tyler, are you prepared to give us Film School 101? Because
For sure.
we need to talk split screens.
Split screens. They're actually split diopter shots.
That's
Basically, how these work, and Brian De Palma is one of the most famous modern filmmakers who used them. They were also used, like Greg Toland used them in Citizen Kane and all that fun stuff. But it's basically like a big bifocal piece of glass gets mounted on rails in front of the camera, and you basically have two focus planes that you sometimes even three, depending on what you have. And so if you meticulously stage the shot, you can have these two really disparate areas be in focus. So it almost looks like a composite that's done digitally, but it's actually done in camera. And De Palma is a adamant and loud Hitchcock lover, and Hitchcock also used this technique, and De Palma is the one who really brought it into modern filmmaking.
It's very like your eye immediately is kind of like, wait, this isn't right. Like, yeah, it's like not natural. Like,
yeah, it's super off-putting. And then he also they shot the entire sequence. Like, he's also pretty famous for split screen, and they shot the entire climax of the movie in split screen, but that didn't actually work out because it was just too much for people to process. Like, he thought it would be really, really cool, but
it does have a few here and there on certain scenes, but yeah,
they shot the entire sequence that way.
Crazy.
Yeah, the split diopter stuff is so cool. You're just always like, yeah, it is kind of unsettling, and like that scene where Tommy is like listening to Carrie talk about his poem is so interesting. Just to like see both of their faces in focus and everything. Yeah,
we've seen.
Go ahead.
I was going to say we've seen so many shots where it would start on Tommy, and then Carrie would be not in focus, and then she would be in focus. But this, instead, they're both in focus the whole time, and you're like, "Whoa, wait a minute."
I was just going to point out that the poem scene, that is actually how Stephen King met his wife. They were in the same poetry club. And the way he talks about it in his book On Writing is adorable and delightful.
Does his wife also have telekinesis?
Yeah. I mean, she has the patience of a saint for staying with him for when he was the mayor of Cocaine City.
Yeah. Yeah.
The poem scene is interesting. It really like kind of makes Tommy like seem even nicer in a way, because like in the book, she almost comes off as a little bit more like selfish and like vindictive, whereas in the movie she comes off more as like it's just she's just overloaded, and the stress and the panic and everything just comes out. But in the movie, or in the book, sorry, she's much more deliberate, where like she knows like there's no poem thing. So there's no pretense. She just knows, like, okay, he's asking me for some kind of weird penance, and I do not care. I am going to take advantage of this opportunity, and I'm going to go, and I'm going to prove everybody wrong, and I'm going to, you know, blah, 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 and I'll show them, and this and that. Whereas this one, she's really kind of like, all right, you know, and then she just kind of like, maybe he really does, you know, but I mean, he is very nice to her and goes a lot farther than he even needs to. And in the book, you see his inner thoughts, and like Carrie is manipulating them somewhat. And so he's like, well, she is really beautiful. Maybe I do love her instead of Sue. Like, oh, I'm so confused. Whereas in the movie, like, he's just being really, 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 really nice. I don't think there's any implication or even like slight indication that she might be controlling his mind.
Yeah. I do like every, you know, as many times as I've seen this movie, I love that it does such a great job of like really making you think that Tommy and Sue are like definitely in on this whole thing. Yes. And it's still like the moment where like they reveal that Sue like has no idea about the bucket and is just like, what's happening, is so good that, like, you know, I almost forget that happens every time, and I'm like, oh shit, they weren't in on it. Oh,
you really thought that they were in on it?
Oh, the whole time. Yeah. I know. Justin, I had the exact same experience of, like, no matter how many times I've seen this movie, I'm like, wait, were they in on it? And then, like, at the end, like, even when she's leaning up against the rope, I'm like, oh yeah, she is in on it. Like, no, really? She's not.
I never thought that they were, like, I have never had that thought, and I've seen it many times.
Oh, I just hate all of the students so much that I'm like, oh yeah, they're definitely in on it. They're being total dicks. This is all part of the plan.
Absolutely.
Especially since you know what happens at the end. You're like, oh, well, this is how they get her up there. And so you're thinking like, yeah, they're in on it.
See, and it's funny because I kind of said the opposite last night because my roommates watched this with me, where I was like, no matter how many times I see this and I've seen the ending and I know what's going to happen, it does such a nice job of lulling you into like, oh, they're on a nice date. Yeah. It's nice. Look, they're dancing now. They're spinning around. He gives her a little kiss. Everyone's so nice. It's so cute. And even though you know it's coming, you're still just like, oh, I just wish that it could just stay this way, you know? Like, why did we have to, like, let's pause time and just stay here?
This movie is really incredible in how it's paced because not a lot happens in this movie. There's not a lot of segments. Like, it almost has like before prom and after prom. Like, it's not, you know, there is a 3-act structure in there, but it feels truncated, and it has these long stretches where it has time to breathe, where then all this other stuff happens. But the incredible thing is that you get to the prom part of this movie with about 40 minutes left. Like, or 30, like there's a lot of movie left. And you remember every single one of those sequences, but it doesn't feel like, it feels like that the pig's blood is the end of the movie somehow. Like, that's how it rests in your mind.
That's the same. Like, the first time I watched this movie, like before you've ever seen this movie, you probably already know about the prom sequence. And so like the first time I ever watched this, going into it, I was like, oh man, we're already at the end of the movie. And I love that there's like, all this stuff that, like, important major stuff that happens afterwards.
Insane. Well, yeah, a mom has to get crucified.
Yep. And it's just like, it's a fun thing to discover in, you know, when you're kind of like, Carrie, like, I already know what happens in this movie. You know, watching it the first time, like, okay, whatever. And then like that there's all this other stuff to discover about it, more than just the iconic pig's blood drop scene. Yep. And the, you know, destruction of the gym. I think is really awesome. But don't forget about John Travolta.
John Travolta. Yeah, let's talk about him, because some other things in this movie that are, you know, of their time is the, like, random domestic abuse in this relationship. Like,
oh, God.
Which goes even farther in the book, where they are like into violent sex with each other. But, like, you know, he keeps slapping her around, and it's just like, whoa, what is happening? And
and throwing beers on her. And,
yeah. Well, the PBR can looks exactly the same, though. Yeah, they look today.
It just has the different.
You could just drunk drive in front of the police back then, and nobody cared.
Yeah, it just has like the different can design. But I love, though, that the movie goes out of its way to let us know what it thinks of John Travolta the entire time.
What
Watch it, you stupid shit. Stupid shit. Dumb punk! Dumb shit. You're so ignorant. Dumb shit. Watch it, you stupid shit.
Who you calling a stupid shit?
Like his chicken.
Yeah, he gets called a stupid shit like 800 times in the movie.
Well, it was funny because like I already know this guy is a horrible character. He's slapping his girlfriend around. He's drunk. He's horrible. He's gonna do the pig's blood thing. He kind of kills the pigs overly violently for no reason. Like he's super into killing them, which is definitely disturbing. But then at some point when they're setting up the trap, he goes into this like Song of the South accent, and you're like, wait, I was like, I don't remember that part. Like, why do you have to bring that into it? And it doesn't help that, like, well, not that anything could make that better, but there are no people of color whatsoever in this town, in this movie. Not even like a clerk in a store. Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Yeah, it's a pretty awful moment. That's just like. It's not anything. It's bad.
And it's interesting because there are multiple references to like Song of the South and blackface and stuff in the book. But,
really?
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah. I mean, I think that the thing that this movie does really, really well is the way that it introduces its evils, right? Because then you just have, all right, like this is a weird girl. And teenage girls are just vicious and they can be really, really mean and they've targeted on her. And it's like, that's shitty. That's bad. And then it's like, oh, she has kind of like a religious mom that like people, the neighborhood's a little bit annoyed with. Like that's, well, that makes sense. Now I get it. It's like, oh, she is crazy. And then it's not just, oh, these kids are just being run of the mill, generally mean. Like now there's a vendetta. And the way that it kind of escalates both of those things where like it's like the walls closing in. It does such a good job of being like, well, the mom's doing this and like the girls that are out for revenge are doing this, and they just keep pushing her into a corner. And every scene kind of keeps that equilibrium going. And it's the thing that drives the movie. It works really well.
Yeah. Oh, man. You guys want to talk about Carrie's mom, Margaret White?
Yes.
Piper Laurie. We just watched, The Faculty recently because I was like, oh, what else do I remember her from? And that was what
she was apparently took the role in this movie and had to De Palma had to keep reminding her that it was not a dark comedy, that this was a serious horror movie. And she was apparently just laughing in between takes because she thought it was so insane.
She is, insane is one word for it in this movie. She is crazy.
I love the mom in the beginning where she's just trying to get her out of the house and she's just like, we'll just donate $10. Now, please shut up.
Oh, man.
It's crazy because, it is so over the top. It's so horrible, but like those people are out there. Like,
No, yeah, like we said before this, like none of this feels unbelievable. Like,
my
dad.
Oh no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say my dad loves this movie and always has. I think that it might not line up as for the years. Movies came out multiple times back then, so I think him and my mom did go see it on a date at some point, and he likes to tell that story. But I mean, I guess he always identified with it somewhat because, of course, in a much less severe way. If you're a kid who has a family that's super, super religious, and it's a religion that other people think is weird, like it just, you can't do these things that the other kids get to do, and you can't, blah, 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 and this and that, and they don't let you do this, and they don't let you do that, and everyone makes fun of you. Like, just like identifying with that feeling, I guess, of being an outsider, specifically for like religious reasons, is really visceral, I guess.
For sure.
Yeah. But I know his favorite is, so there's this, everyone calls it the creepy Jesus statue.
Oh,
it's definitely not Jesus. I guess it's Saint Sebastian or whatever, but horrifying,
Jesus.
creepy Jesus.
The eyes.
the fact that when Carrie does eventually kill Margaret and she's strung up in the same exact position and then makes the same expression as the creepy statue is so good. Like, and I kind of get why Piper Laurie thought it was funny, because that part makes me laugh really hard.
Well, and the way she dies, she's like having an orgasm or something while she's dying.
Yeah. She likes it.
Yeah, it's so creepy.
Whiskey on his breath. So De Palma does talk about this part in the De Palma documentary. And one of the things that he says is that it's great when they make so many sequels of a movie that you made, because you can see them make all the mistakes that you didn't.
Yes.
And he was like, they did a TV version where they do the end, how she dies in the book, which is just a heart attack.
Yeah.
And his whole thing, he was just like, really? Like, you're just gonna have her fall down? Like, no, like that's not, we're not doing that. Like, we're gonna have her be crucified. And that was one of the changes that he was the most proud of.
Yeah.
That's great.
Especially someone giving you a telekinesis heart attack, like I assume it looks goofy. I guess we'll find out soon.
Yeah,
right?
A couple weeks. 2 weeks from now.
They showed clips of it. We found out.
Yeah, the whole time with the mom, I was just like, I just have a daughter, and I was just like, I cannot imagine raising someone like in this way. And thinking that it's
wanting to kill your own daughter for any reason, or no matter what you believe.
Exactly. Thinking that what you're doing is good and right. I was just like, this is so far beyond anything I could imagine. It's not going to be like that here. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, so you're not going to have a closet with like a weird Muppet Jesus?
Yeah. I'll be like, I should have known it was going to be red. I knew it was going to be a red dress.
She's like, dude, it's pink. Like, what?
Did you
it's not red.
Did you see about that, Tyler? Where like apparently the costume designer decided that pink looked better on Sissy Spacek for the scene, but Piper Laurie didn't get like the script changes, or it didn't get changed for her. So she said the line like, red. I might have thought it would be red. And then later they were like, hey, we need to go back and change it because it's actually a pink dress. And she was like, no. Like in her mind, she's so like obsessed. Like she sees it as red, even though it's not.
That's really cool.
I love that because it makes it so much better, because you're like, what? Lady, it's pink. Like
you're like, she's so far off the deep end. Yeah.
It looks like blood, the dogs,
I
boys.
heard that's amazing.
The dogs. Yeah, this boys could. That was so gross. With
boys
like they come sniffing.
The
yeah. Oh god. That's not how it works.
That was one of the period myths that I looked up, and I was like, I'm not even going to ask them. That's so stupid. Like, does period blood attract bears or whatever? Apparently, that's one of the things that men actually think.
Yes.
I know that's been a joke for a long time.
Yeah, and like Anchorman.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
What do you guys think about Betty Buckley as Miss Collins? Is she a good teacher or a bad teacher?
She's a great teacher. She's a human teacher. She is not does a lot of questionable things. Admits her own humanity in like that whole speech with the principal, and at the end is just genuinely happy for Carrie, and that is thought that she could do a good thing for these kids, but like she hates the kids and she loves the kids. That feels like a real teteacher.
How
to
do
me.
I reach these kids?
Yeah,
by literally reaching them with your fists.
Yeah.
No, I was like, I definitely don't condone hitting, students or children or anything, but I do enjoy the way she talks back to these kids and like doesn't take any of their shit.
Yeah,
and just gives it right back to them. And apparently she is like actually slapping that actress in that scene like 30 times over.
Later to become Brian De Palma's wife.
Nice. But I think she's great in this movie. Do you guys think at the end, do you think she was actually laughing at Carrie, or that's in Carrie's head?
No, not at all. It's red dress.
Yeah, exactly.
She inherited the crazy.
I didn't think she was actually laughing either. I'm just curious if...
No, Carrie at that point just thinks that all of them are. I don't think the teacher especially is not.
Yeah.
We're all going to laugh at you.
Classic soundbite.
Yep.
Yeah. And also one of those like oft misquoted.
the DVD menu, when you turn it on, it's like, they're all gonna laugh at you, and it just repeats over and over.
Which I think I heard from an Adam Sandler album before I saw this movie.
Yes, exactly.
My dad always says, they'll laugh at you, but it's not right. Like, get it right.
They'll laugh at you. They'll laugh at you.
Been hearing that my whole life, and it was true.
They're gonna chuckle. Yeah.
So yeah, we're talking about this magic trick that the movie pulls a little bit, where we see some of the girls plotting, and it's unclear, who's doing what exactly that they're doing. De Palma's, like I said, from the Hitchcock school, and firmly believes that the setup to the thing is more interesting than the thing. So like this movie is completely building to the prom scene. And like that's all it's doing. It's an engine to get to that point.
Yeah. And it's like, it's executed beautifully. And I love the choice they make to like just like hang in this like silence and just hear the bucket swinging.
Yes.
And like everything's happening in slow motion for forever. And like you slowly see, I think Norma is the one who laughs first, but I love that you don't hear the laughter at first. It's just like this haunting, like, image of her like freaking out and then like kind of inciting. I
love there's the moment where people don't laugh, and then it's Norma being like, because she was in on it and knew it was going to happen, because she couldn't like wait 2 seconds for the secret to be told to her. Like it's throwing the elbow like, oh my God, it's so funny. And that's the only thing it takes to make them turn.
Yep.
Well, and when the bucket hits Tommy in the head,
yes,
then that also kind of opens the laughter floodgates. And even though Carrie cannot perceive that happened at all, and that's part of what they're laughing at,
right?
It definitely is, I think, because everyone likes him, but he's like the popular guy, and he got hit in the head by a bucket and fell over. Like that's sort of like just kind of funny.
I probably would have laughed.
Which not, because apparently it's a very heavy bucket because he is out cold.
No, like if I saw that in real time, I'd be like, oh fuck, and like run up and just make sure he's okay.
Right now, yeah. But if you just thought it was like a little tin bucket or whatever, apparently in the book too, there's 2 buckets, and the one that hits him is still like partially full, which is another reason why it's so heavy that he is like pretty like obviously completely out.
And then he dies, right? He dies in the
he
fire?
dies in the fire for sure. But in the book, it kind of heavily implies that he might have like the head injury may have killed him anyway.
Oh dang!
Because it's like that severe.
That's pretty classic King too, of just like where banal things like that will do you in.
Yeah. I was impressed by the kind of dedication to arts and crafts decorations. Like even every step up to the stage is completely covered in glitter, like the steps that they're peeking through to like watch the action happen, totally glittery stairs. And then it's funny because my roommate was like, how is no one seeing that bucket? And then they show the bucket, it's camouflaged with stars and moons and little decorations. I was impressed that they camouflaged the bucket. That's the important part of my speech.
Yeah, you'd think someone would notice it because it wasn't like there were a ton of decorations up in the rafters there. The movie also has like a pretty gorgeous score by Pino Donaggio, Italian composer. Watching this again, like, made me excited that Waxwork is putting out the vinyl for Carrie this year. And I already have a bunch of his other, like I have Don't Look Now and Tourist Trap and The Howling he did as well. He actually did the music for Seed of Chucky that we watched.
Oh, interesting.
But yeah, I think I just love that it has this like kind of like pastoral nature at certain parts that really plays well over like the crazy religious stuff and like the mom dying and just like this kind of luscious score. And then I guess he also wrote like some of the songs in the prom, like what you heard at the start.
Oh, interesting.
That first song at the prom is actually kind of good. That's in the trailer. I'm like, oh man, it's kind of like a bopping song. And now I'm hoping that that's on the soundtrack too, but I don't know if it will be. But yeah, great score.
I can't remember if it was this film but he did work with the Psycho composer in previous movies.
Bernard Herrmann, yeah.
And I believe he was supposed to do this one, but ended up passing away beforehand. But he was telling a story, whether it was this movie or another movie that he collaborated on, where he had a bunch of his Psycho score on the temp track. Brian De Palma also talks about being terrified of him. And that they had a bunch of Psycho cues on there, and he was like, no, stop the projector. I can't watch it with those cues on there. And he had to immediately like rip all the temp stuff off there, because he was just like, if I hear it, like, then I'm gonna have to do it that way. Like, no, we're not doing it.
I mean, I do love that they kind of, end up going with that like screeching violins for whenever Carrie's having a raging power moment. I could watch that scene where she like knocks over the kid on the bike like over and over again. It's pretty funny. It's so funny. And he's just like, what the fuck? But yeah.
Creepy Carrie.
Yeah, those moments are really powerful. And I think the score is great.
So how about the ending?
Ooh, yes. The Deliverance inspired ending?
Yes.
I thought it's pretty creepy. You have anything, any De Palma insights?
I do. It's shot backwards.
Oh, nice.
You can actually see a car in the background behind her as she walked down the street moving backwards.
That's probably why it feels extra creepy to watch.
Yeah, it feels so like he wanted it to be like off-putting, but you couldn't quite place it. So yeah, it's completely shot in reverse. And which is why the way that she's walking, everything is just a little bit weird. And he also talks about how it's in respect to, I can't remember, it's one of his more modern movies. And he was like, yeah, the ending's not good. He's like, as a filmmaker, you get like, maybe if you're lucky, one or two just incredible endings. And for your films, and like Carrie was definitely one of them.
Yeah. I think it's a pretty iconic ending. And I love that, you just kind of, you see the like trauma that's been left behind with Sue, because it ends on her just like screaming out of her mind, like, totally messed up in the head after.
I'm here. But you're sleeping on the futon for a reason.
She's like, yeah.
That's her real mom too.
Oh, really?
Oh, really? That's interesting.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Yeah.
That she was the one who almost got Princess Leia.
It's really, because I feel like I've heard people be like, well, what'd you have to kill everybody for? Why'd she have to kill the teacher? Why'd she have to kill Tommy? Blah, blah, blah. But I'm kind of like, okay, first of all, the people asking that, you were probably popular, weren't you?
Yeah. You feel like this is an affront to you somehow? Like,
but actually, though, it really like, it wouldn't make sense if she like spared certain people, because this is a completely chaotic thing. Her powers are out of control in the movie version. And in the book, it's a lot weirder. Like I said, she's sort of practicing her powers throughout the whole book to build them up. And then after she burns down the gym, she walks through the whole town. She blows up the gas main. She blows up a couple gas stations. She explodes every fire hydrant so that they can't put out the fire at the school because there's no water pressure. She goes to the house and has the anticlimactic, psychic heart attack on the mom. But then she leaves, goes to the roadhouse so that she can kill what's her face and what's his face. But like in the movie, I like a lot better because she really doesn't even know like cognitively that it was them. She just sees them on the road and she's like, boom, you're dead in that awesome explosion. But this whole thing where she goes to the roadhouse, she kills them, and then she's like lying in the parking lot, and Sue comes and like, they have like a psychic connection, and she like hears her thoughts or whatever, and then like dies in her arms.
Oh, weird.
But like Sue at the end is just kind of like, yeah, it was a bummer, but I'm over it now, and I hope my book makes money so that I can move away to where no one knows me. Bye.
Classic Stephen King ending as well.
Much better with her going like, wah! Like she's totally insane now.
Yeah. Where the mist ends. Oh, I guess I won't ruin another book ending. It did make me wonder. I had this thought while I was watching it, is that like because you made the crack about like, well, you were probably popular of, her killing everybody at the school, but it rings so true. And so that there is no anger and violence begets more anger and violence, and that the reaction to it is blind. It's rage, Carrie too, the rage. But it's such an iconic revenge thing of just like, she is so bullied and so maligned that when she gets her gives them their comeuppance, it's satisfying. It's fun to watch it happen. It does. I love that the movie has the consequences of innocent people are dying too, but like as an audience, we're enjoying it. And it made me really wonder if it was that's the thing that made it popular, because that's a fantasy that some of us like, but that people obviously like want to indulge in fiction or something like that. And it made me wonder if that's something that was tapped into, or if that was something that was put into the public conscious, and does it then, I don't know, somehow play into school shootings and play into that fantasy in that it's something that we can all relate to. And there's something really interesting there. And I'm not quite sure how I feel about it, but it definitely made me think about that while watching the movie this time around.
Yeah, it's very complicated. I mean, obviously, like everyone, I don't care what you want to tell yourself, but almost everyone, especially girls watching this movie, is like, it would be kind of, it would be too bad if I could exact revenge. Yep. Of course, not actually kill people, but just that release, that feeling of, wow, you really got your comeuppance.
You were wrong about me. You were wrong about me.
Exactly. Is like, fantasy. But that's what it is. As long as it remains a fantasy, it's not dangerous. However, society has enabled people to take it too far, obviously, but it doesn't even always have to be that way. It's funny how many there were so many parallels that I kept noticing between this movie and Matilda, actually, which I was kind of like, well, that's like a whole different way to take it, like what if Matilda had kept going with her powers until high school? I don't know what would have happened, but
that's amazing.
It's similar in a weird way. She gets revenge on a teacher instead of a student.
Yeah, I mean, clearly she decided to kill Mrs. Collins because of that stupid rule where you can't go to prom if you don't have a date.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Them's the rules. We're a very litigious high school.
You can't go to prom if you don't have a date, you loser.
President Principal McConnell, no.
You're not going to make it past the door.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that was a thing, but yeah, it's I mean, it's so complicated. I mean,
I do think it's
many of us. I have been a bully. I have been bullied in certain ways, that remind me of this movie. But like, and it's just kind of a vicious cycle that we all have to break in ways other than Carrie's.
Yeah. Because I do think it's it's a bit of a cathartic experience to see that happen, but I also love that it's just like the movie's more complicated than just like, revenge. There's like all this tragedy. And,
absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's one of the things that's so crucial about the movie, that it does include that.
Yep.
I mean, that question is baked into, visualizing this fantasy. And the thing that the movie does so well, as we were talking about before, of how it kind of stops time and plays with time, making it feel that she's on cloud nine. Like you really feel like she's the belle of the ball, and like you're so excited for her, and you can tell that like, and it is weird too, where like in the movie it feels incredibly platonic, and like it's just two people being really nice to each other.
Yeah, and that like, come Monday, it's not like they're gonna be dating. It's just right. Like, thanks for the good time. All right, bye.
It's like this really healthy I see you type of like, not to
not
bring
like
Avatar
into
way.
It. So relevant.
But yeah, it's just them being kind, and it makes the horror of what comes next so much more effective and jarring.
Yeah. Masterful stuff.
Indeed. Anything else? Anybody?
You guys want to hear what a bunch of kids think about the movie?
Yes.
Before we get into our own reviews?
Sure.
This is one, we're back with the Common Sense Media.
Surprised they even bother to like review things that are rated R anyway.
Yeah, you're like, clearly this isn't for kids, but okay. There is way more kids reviews on the film than parents. There's like 75 to 12. And I just wanted to read a few that I thought were particularly funny. Here's one titled, A Kid Who's 11 Years Old, 3 stars, not sure, it says. I never saw the whole movie, but I did see the prom part, which was pretty awesome. But that's just me, because I don't see a lot of horror movies. But almost everyone died, but not Carrie's best friend. And if you've seen the end, then you see her best friend, but she is like in cast all around. Yep. Seems like
in
a person.
Cast?
She is in cast all around.
What does that mean?
Like a body cast, I guess? I don't know. Clearly someone who doesn't understand the movie.
Well, they're only 11, so.
Here's a 9-year-old kid, 5 stars. Yeah,
Oh, no.
Carrie. I love this movie, and I watched it. That's the title. Yeah, Carrie. I love this movie, and I watched it first when I was 8. It rocked. If your kid is familiar with Family Guy, they can watch this movie.
What?
Coming from a 9-year-old kid. Okay, that's doesn't sound great. Here's another one from a 12-year-old kid. It's really good. 4 stars. I watched this at 11 years old with my best friend, and it's perfectly fine. My brother saw it at 10 too. Most of our casual stuff is worse anyways. Pretty violent at some parts, but oh well, right?
Okay, this is why it's escalating, because these kids are watching it way too young.
I know.
Well.
Here's another one from a 13-year-old teen, 4 stars. I'm impressed with the soundtrack, scary enough to make this movie good. The movie makes me feel old, too. And then the review says, if you like prom, watch this.
Like the prom?
Or no, I just think like, if you like prom, watch this movie.
By the way, coincidentally, I had watched The Prom on Netflix the day before, not realizing that I would be watching Carrie the next night. And I was like,
double Travolta, double prom.
Too bad James Corden wasn't at this prom.
Oh, God. All right.
I mean, then there'd be no more James Corden. So
yeah, I've got one last one. This is the best one they had. This is a 1-star review from a 15-year-old teen, just from November 2020. The title of it is Scary. You know, like Carrie with an S in front. And here's the review. It says, more like scary because of one of the most terrible horror movies. The plot is stupid, but it's classic. First of all, teens making out in the car like Stranger Things and oral sex. How dare you? No teens can oral sexing.
What?
There is some nudity, and a girl gets bullied with menstrual period. There's exclamation points after every sentence. If a girl says, I have a period, then they were offended. Some boys do even study puberty about girls, and girls study puberty in boys. That's gender puberty. If a girl has a menstrual period stain, then she gets bullied. Some violence, like a stupid mother hits her daughter and then locks her in a closet. Characters killing each other. Bully pushes a girl. A teen boy slaps his girlfriend, and teacher slaps his students. A teen girl destroying gym class. Impaled knives and death. Some swearing, like using an F-bomb. It's just bad. Bad for modern day girls. Who hates Stephen King? Don't watch it or you'll have no candy.
What?
That's how it ends.
It's weird that Ben Shapiro writes on that site.
I want like a that's all, folks, but that's gender puberty.
That's gender puberty. I was like, it doesn't make sense. No teens are oral sexing.
No teens are oral sexing.
They can't. How dare you?
Not in a car. Like, what are they doing? Making it out in a car like it's Stranger Things?
How dare you?
We need more education on everything, not just sexual education. Everybody needs to be more educated. Okay.
Now I'm like, kids still have to make out in cars, right? Like, where else do you go?
There's a weird God. There's a weird you know how it says like you should talk about this with your kids after the movie. One of the things it says that I feel like is just weirded super strangely. It says, how does this 70s horror movie compare to some of the real bloodbaths you see today?
Oh my God.
Which is like,
I mean, that's kind of what I was talking about before.
Wording.
Yeah, why would you call it
bloodbath?
I couldn't even finish the sentence.
Why don't you say school shootings?
I don't know.
School violence.
How does this compare with some of the other bloodbaths?
Yeah, some of the real bloodbaths.
You know, one of those bloodbaths that are just in the news.
Bloodbath and Beyond, yeah. It's just like terrible wording on the question. I don't know why you would write it like that. Oh, boy. Okay. Tyler, you got a rating system for us? We can give our
Hold on, I'm not done laughing at that. Do I have a rating for you? How many hand-sewn prom dresses would you give Carrie?
I think I'm going to give it 9 hand-sewn pink prom dresses. I was kind of going between 9 and 10. Honestly, I could probably give it a 10. It's pretty it's a classic. I'm a big horror movie fan. This is about as good as it gets. Especially, you know, in the 70s. This is a classic and a touchstone for lots of future films. It's just like, yeah, I feel like, you know, seeing the special features and hearing like what Tyler talks about from the Brian De Palma documentary, it just sounds like every step along the way, they made the right choice. And, you know, they do talk a lot about how Brian De Palma like storyboards all of his scenes, and you really get that feeling, especially in the like meticulously shot like prom sequence that's like the climax of this movie. It's just awesome to watch, and I feel like, you know, much like Eliz's dad, I think it's something you can watch over and over again and still get enjoyment and find different themes or see different things you didn't notice the first time, and it's really enjoyable to go back and watch again. So, yeah, great movie.
I'm gonna give it a 10. I was really hoping you would pick Dirty Pillows because we haven't said Dirty Pillows yet.
I was like, what are you doing?
10 Dirty Pillows.
Whiskey breath.
Because yeah, I mean, it's a masterpiece. Like, it's a classic. It's great. It's, you know, other than cell phones, like, and hitting the people in school, this could take place tomorrow, sadly, if somebody had telekinesis. Like, it is so timeless, which is horrible, but also makes it amazing to watch. And everything is just so good. Like, Sissy Spacek is so amazing when she plays both the like aloof Carrie and then the like made up Carrie. She's not like overdoing it, she's not underdoing it. It's just like the perfect tone of where you like feel sorry for her, but also like you get it, you know. And it's just like it's just great.
Yeah, this gets a full 10 dresses from me. This is a classic movie. De Palma's a master. This is him operating at, you know, the top of his powers. And it's a movie that has a really hard edge, that's really cynical, that also has a lot of heart, and gives you more to think about than most movies. Especially like the United Artists is the company that put it out, and they were embarrassed to promote it because they were, you know, they had Rocky that year, they had all these Best Picture things, and so like they're like, yeah, we put it out, it's out there, you know, it's there, whatever. But you know, I think that this movie, the reason it has such staying power is that it taps into something universal, and that's the thing that makes it timeless, and it's executed in such a way where even though some of the stylistic things could feel gimmicky, they really don't. It's kind of incredible. It's kind of just this pure cinema variation that just works how many years later? Is it almost 40, 30?
Math.
Longer than that.
Longer than 40, yeah.
Yeah.
Right? 76.
That's crazy.
Yeah, well, it did pull 2 Oscar nominations for acting.
It did.
Yeah, for both the main leads.
And the mom won, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm not sure about that.
I don't think so.
I don't think she did.
No.
Then I am mistaken.
You are mistaken, sir. Now you will feel the rage. Carrie 2.
Yeah, so where do we think this is going?
So I can tell you it's going all the way to 1999, which is
oh my God,
so far away from I almost said 1776 from 1976. It's just I'm interested to watch this because I've never seen this movie, and I wonder why it was made so far away from the original. Like, what was the impetus to be like, let's make a sequel in 1999? So I'm really interested to dive into that. But I don't know. That was a dream sequence, right? It wasn't like she was actually still alive.
Yeah.
At the end, so she's dead. So I don't know who this is going to be about. But it's called The Rage Carrie 2, so Carrie must be involved somehow.
Carrie also.
Maybe like
Carrie escaped. She became a flight attendant, had a kid.
She's
maybe like a copycat person that's like
maybe
trying to develop their powers in honor of Carrie or something.
It's a backdoor X-Men tie-in.
Well, doesn't
Patrick Stewart shows up at the end?
The book actually ends with oh, there might be other people with powers thing, right? Doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
So that could be something that they're exploring. I guess if they're going back to something they didn't tackle in the movie from the book.
Like someone in the book literally proposes, like, is it eugenics to get rid of people with telekinesis?
Yikes.
Cool.
Maybe it'll go into that. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, right? That is X-Men. There you go.
Yeah, yeah.
I feel like I don't know what a sequel would be. I have a feeling it's just going to tread the same grounds. But
and not going to be shot nearly as cool.
No, it's 1999. Come on, it's going to look terrible.
We'll have to see.
Yeah. We'll be continuing that next week. But yeah, in the meantime, Eliz, where can people reach out?
Email us at sequelrights@gmail.com. And you can find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at Sequel Rights.
And please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. 5 stars goes a long way. Or share your favorite episodes from the past year on social media. We'd really appreciate it.
Yeah, and thanks again to listener Nicole for suggesting Carrie. I think she suggested twice, and we're finally listening here.
We're doing it.
We're doing it. And we're all ready to rage next week. We're just going to rage. We're going to rage.
Make sure you have a date, otherwise you can't come.
That's right. Prove it. See you guys next week.
As I look back upon my younger days, I really was a maniac. Blowing up the dawn with the terror.